Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I have a little video that I put together. I've also got my new microphone hood. Hopefully this makes the mic sound a little bit clearer, a little bit cleaner. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about basically just some misconceptions that I have personally seen in the world, that I've seen some like mentors or coaches or other content creators pushing, or like celebrities talking about. Basically just like some misconceptions that I see that I tried, and like some things that I got advice about and they didn't really work for making progress. Okay, so the video is really about making progress and some of the false advice that I think people give. Okay, so just hear me out, take it with a grain of salt, and do your own research, see what works for you. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into how you can make a lot of progress in 2019 in your business or your life. Let's get into it. So one of the biggest problems in the world that I see on a regular basis is basically who people are comparing themselves to. I think a lot of people compare themselves to other people, or they compare themselves to celebrities, or they compare themselves to, their peers who are higher up than them in whatever area of life that we're talking about. And really, what I've been kind of trying to practice most is comparing myself to who I was rather than to who someone else is. I hope that makes sense, but it's kind of a school of thought that I picked up from reading a book, 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. And after reading that book, I really kind of realized, I think it's chapter 4, he talks a lot about just, taking it easy on yourself and not really like looking at your progress like, oh, you suck because you didn't get, you didn't reach the goals that the best people in the world reached. Okay, so really start comparing yourself to where you were last year. Did you make any form of improvement from who you were last year? Did you make any form of improvement from who you were yesterday? Then that's good. Awesome. That's what you should judge yourself on, rather than judging yourself based on, where someone else is in their life, because they've had a whole different set of circumstances and they've gone through, a lot as well. So you can't compare yourself to others if you don't want to get let down, because oftentimes you're going to shoot way too high and, you'll feel like shit. That's just how it is for most people from my experience. So especially my mentorship students. Okay. So I'll get them on a call, and like the first thing we talk about the first week is all about like mindset and stuff like that, and productivity and peak performance. And I feel like, you can shoot high, you can have high goals, but break your goals down. And that's what I'm going to talk about next, is like breaking your goals down into smaller pieces. But yeah, basically don't compare yourself to the highest level. Compare yourself to who you were in the past. And you're just going to have a lot more satisfaction when you do reach your goals, because you're going to see improvement, and you're going to have that little bit of challenge, but you're not going to have some huge insurmountable challenge that you're dealing with. Okay. Next, chunking. Okay. So like splitting things up into smaller tasks. And I'm sure you've heard of this, but, because this is like a common school of thought, right? Breaking things down into smaller pieces so that you can get them done easier. But what I really implore you to do, or what I'm really kind of challenging you to do, is to kind of break them down even smaller than you have before. Okay, I'm sure you've had this thing where there's been like in the past where you've written out your schedule for the week, or you've written out your schedule for the month, and there's just these nagging little tasks that keep popping up, right? Hey, I didn't finish that today, so I'm going to move it to tomorrow. I didn't finish that last month, so I'm going to move it to next month. And oftentimes we just let these things go by the wayside and we don't ever get started with them. And usually those things have like a deep-rooted problem behind them that's holding you back from getting started with them. Okay, so number one, look at the task first of all and just be like, is this really necessary to reach the goal that I'm trying to reach? Do I need to complete this thing? Or is it not necessary? If it's not necessary, do away with it. But if it is necessary, like if it's something that needs to get done, you're just procrastinating and putting it off, what I advise you to do is break it down as small as it can go. Break it down ridiculously, okay? Because a lot of people talk about chunking, right? Have a big goal for the year. Chunk it down to what you need to do that month. then chunk it down to what you need to do that day, then chunk it down to what you need to do that hour. What I want you to do is look at this task on your calendar, on your schedule, whatever it may be, and really just dig into that thing and see how you can spend 1 minute on it. See how you can spend 2 minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes just doing this one little thing and just getting started with it, okay? What I've found here with this chunking thing is like a lot of times it doesn't just come down to you procrastinating it because it's hard. Sometimes it's just like this internal mindset thing that's holding you back. And this can happen from a lot of things. Okay, so just for an example, I'm trying to think of an example of something that I was putting off for a long time. I guess something that I put off for a while was just like making sales calls, or not making sales calls, but just like outreach and stuff like that. And the reason I put it off is because I always used to judge people who were salesmen. Like I always used to have this bad judgment or this bad aura around people who, sell things, because I guess it's annoying in society, okay? If you have a belief like that about something on your calendar, of course you're not going to get it done. So, get rid of false beliefs that are holding you back from doing that thing and then chunk it down ridiculously, as I said. So I hope those things help you kind of chunk your tasks down a little bit better than some of the advice that you've heard before. I wanted to talk a little bit about like sleep, okay? This is kind of a hot topic right now, especially if you're like in entrepreneurship or you're like a peak performance athlete, like a high level pro athlete, or really just anyone who takes their health to the next level, to a serious level. This is kind of like it's just a hot topic in the space right now, with things like the Aura Ring coming around. If you haven't heard of the Aura Ring, I have mine ordered. I'm super excited to get it. It's basically a ring that tells you all these sleep stats and all these predictors for your health. Heart rate variability is a big one. Rather than just heart rate, it talks about your heart rate over a long period of time and how it changes. And that can be a big predictor for things like heart attacks, or like really anything. Like it shows up negatively when you're under stress. And really you want to aim for, I believe it's a higher heart rate variability. So I'm not going to geek out over that too much right now. Really, the core of this conversation in this video is that sleep is very important. In fact, there's been some studies done recently that have shown that sleep, or lack of sleep, can lead to pretty much any awful disease that's out there right now, okay? Lack of sleep can cause cancer. In fact, when you sleep, you regenerate the cells that fight cancer. So that's insane to think, right? There's been studies done about shift workers, and shift working has now been considered what they call in like government terms a carcinogen in the workplace. And some scientists even believe that it's worse than smoking to go on basically to go on a rhythm that's not like lined up with your natural circadian rhythm. And your circadian rhythm, if you're not familiar, is basically like wake time and sleep time, and it's related with when the sun is up, when you're receiving light, when your body is seeing darkness and sending in melatonin. So you don't have to get confused with all these terms. Basically, what all this means is we need to get realistically 7 to 9 hours of sleep. We need that, okay? I used to think 6 hours was enough. I started doing some research and listening to what the PhDs who studied sleep all their lives were saying, and 6 hours isn't enough. We need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So if you are depriving yourself from sleep, you won't get shit done, okay? If you want to make progress this year, you need to basically sleep more, okay? And that's just one thing from the top. Honestly, I should have made it the first thing that we talked about, but it's one thing that needs to get fixed if you want to make progress. Even if you aren't being a peak performer, like just getting sleep is going to help you make tremendous amounts of progress in the future with whatever you're doing. So number one, it's really bad for you if you're not getting sleep. And number two, it's going to help you make huge leaps and bounds, huge progress if you can get more sleep and then higher quality sleep as well. And higher quality sleep comes from like what time you're eating and stuff like that. So if you're eating at like late hours of the night, or you're eating like shitty food all day, you're not going to get good sleep. Okay. You're not going to get restorative sleep, and it probably won't matter how long you sleep. If you're not exercising and stuff like that, it also affects your sleep. And like there's all sorts of things. I recommend you kind of read into this. In fact, go check out the Oura Ring website. If I had an affiliate link, I'd throw it in the description, but I don't yet, so I will in the future. But maybe check if I have one if you want to cop the Oura Ring and give me a little kickback for that. But yeah. Anyways, so sleep, very important. And lastly, I just kind of wanted to debunk this hustle mentality, okay? There's kind of this aura around entrepreneurship and pro athletics, I think, and like athletics in general. It's just basically this huge push for hustle and just like working your ass off and just grinding through everything, okay? And I mean, of course, I guess like I can't say that there's not a time and place for hustle, but most of the time it's not going to be as effective as just, strategically, putting in some amount of work that you can handle, and then recovering, and then putting in quality work again and recovering, rather than just working for hours on end and, punching in the clock and basically working all day, okay? So for most of you, and for myself included, this is something I need to work on. You may be like a workaholic, or you may be someone who just really always wants to work on the craft. You might be that guy or girl who's in the gym for like 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours at a time. You might be that person, that entrepreneur who's just like working on your business from dawn to dusk, and really just like constantly going at it. But if you can't put in like quality work for those amounts of time, due to lack of sleep, due to lack of diet, due to lack of stress, then I recommend you just don't work, because it's not worth putting in work if it's not going to be good quality, clean work. Okay, so most of us, honestly, with the average trends of how much people sleep, what kind of food they eat, what kind of exercise they put in, most of us can't even realistically put in a good solid 7 hours of work. And that's what at least in the Western world, over in the United States, like 7, 8, 9 hours, 10 hours, 12, 14-hour days of work are just kind of a normal thing for a lot of people. And most people can't realistically handle that and put in good quality work. So what I guess I'm suggesting is, come up with one thing to do that day. And if you come up with one thing to do every day for 30 days of the month, you're going to get a shit ton of things done in the month. You're going to get way more done than the person who tries to cram like 5, 6 things in one day. Okay. So really it's just kind of about being disciplined. Where your discipline should come in is getting sleep, exercise, and recovery, rather than being disciplined of basically like rather than having willpower and discipline to complete tasks all day and like answer emails and hit the cold calls or whatever the hell you do. Really, it's going to better your life if you don't have a lot of stress, if you're letting your body recover, and if you're taking it easier on yourself. Okay. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I think that it was a bit of I think it was kind of a fitting video for the beginning of the year. So, as I said, this is my opinion. This is from my experience and from my mentorship students, from their experience as well, because I talk to them on a regular basis and they tell me, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm struggling with. So this is just some input that I wanted to give you for free to help you with your goals, with your progress, with your business, whatever it may be this year. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and subscribe. And also like this video. And lastly, just leave a quick comment, leave some feedback, get engaged in the comment section, because truly this is what makes me want to make these videos. When I see comments down there and I can kind of get, well, first of all, it's just, I love seeing my channel grow. Of course, I love seeing that. So I'm not going to lie and be like, oh, I don't care. I'm just here to serve the community. No, I'm like, for real. I love seeing my channel grow. It's fun for me. But the other thing is I want to see this community grow, and I want to see this, this kind of upheaval of just a different way of thinking in entrepreneurship and in peak performance and things like that. So, if that's you, if you want to be a part of that community, please just comment below. Even if it's just like, hey man, great video, just leave a comment. Or if you have a question, just leave your question below and I will read all of those comments. So hope you enjoyed the video today, and we'll see you in the next one.